I still love Woody.
Got you there. Hey, folks, what is up? Danny Boy Reginald here, back with you for another edition of Batter Up, sponsored by the one and the only Dugout of Millwood. Um, we welcome you on a Sunday edition. We're live on our YouTube place. Please subscribe to our YouTube page. It's just that button down below this little video. You can subscribe and please ring that bell for notifications. We appreciate that you have joined us again. And of course, for those of you listening to the podcast on the audio form, which again uploaded sometime soon if it hasn't already. Thank you for joining us and listening to us. We really appreciate you. We got some stuff to talk about. I have the old ops guy here. How's it going, Mark?
Morning. It's great. It's grand. It's New York. Darryl Strawberry is enshrined.
Mm-hmm.
Things are good.
Yeah, and the home run apple turned into a strawberry overnight.
That was classic.
It was like a big transformation there.
Yeah, that was classic.
Over in center field. Mike the Pwnmaster Rivkin, who will lead us the rest of the way. How's it going, buddy?
Doing all right, my friend. How are you?
I got some bag of chips right now.
Mm-hmm.
Downing because I'm hungry. But other than that, I'm having a great weekend. The Yankees are kicking ass again, so I mean, I can't really complain. Can't really complain. By the way, Bombers Banter is coming out very soon. Me and Billy Boy just taped one on Friday, and we're really excited to show off how excited we are about this Yankee run. But we're talking about national baseball news now. And Mike, I have to say, man, your Mets caught a break with Ronald Acuna not being here for the rest of the season.
I don't know if it's as much of a break as people want it to be, but yeah, for those who don't know, Ronald Acuna, the Braves outfielder, tore his ACL last week. And if you did not see the play, it's on a simple pickoff play at second base where he just went to the ground. And a couple of years ago, he tore the other ACL. Now, here's the thing. He tore the first ACL. The Atlanta Braves went on to win the World Series that year.
Yep.
Mark, I don't think it happens again this year just because of the other injury in Atlanta, and that being the Spencer Strider injury. But this is not only a blow for the Braves, it's a blow for Major League Baseball.
It's taking one of the faces of baseball right out of the market right away. Ronald Acuna, last year, 70 stolen bases, won what he won for a reason. He is a downright true ball player. He can do it all. As Mike said before, he tore his ACL 2 years ago, and the Braves went on. That was the right knee. Now this is the left knee. As someone who was a catcher, thank God he's not, because he would never be catching again. It's going to be a very hard transition for him to come back from this because he's going to have to be careful. I mean, we could be seeing the end of Ronald Acuna as a fielder and then Ronald Acuna more as the DH as this changes. As for the Atlanta Braves, it's a big blow to the lineup. I mean, you can't just replace a Ronald Acuna overnight. It's not going to happen. But the Atlanta Braves do have a good ball club. They're gonna be there come wild card time, and we'll see what happens. God forbid, no more injuries.
I like how you point out the lineup because the lineup can handle it when you look at they still have an Ozzy Albies, they still have Matt Olson, they have Stone Cold Steve Austin Riley, Marcell Ozuna's having a really good year. We could talk about whether or not he should be playing in a different manner. That's a different subject. Michael Harris. And then they have the two catchers in Murphy and Travis d'Arnaud. So the lineup has the depth. But the question becomes, because it's not going to take a singular guy to replace Ronald Acuna. It takes 2, 3 guys who can replicate that. And if there's anything about Alex Anthopoulos that we know, he will be aggressive at the trade deadline, getting a bat or two if the Atlanta Braves need it. Well, just think of when they got Jorge Soler and
Mhm.
Adam Duvall in 2021 to get to the World Series.
And it might be as something as easy as that at the trade deadline to be able to pick up. Dan?
I mean, they have to do something. There's no way. Look, you guys say that they can get by, and I agree they can, but they can only get by with so much, and they can only do so much. Eventually, you're going to need another bat to replace him, and it's a really tough situation. I don't want to be in Acuna's shoes right now because you have now 2 ACL tears, one that's already repaired, and it's a bad knee. Now you have another bad knee. I mean, you know, I do not want to be in his spot right now. One of the most prolific baseball players in the game, and it stinks. It really stinks. But the Braves can get by, but eventually they're going to have to address it because it's not sustainable long term.
I think you brought up an interesting point too, Dan, because if you watched Ronald Acuna when he tore the first ACL and then came back, there are fly balls he wouldn't get to. He wouldn't dive or take that extra stride. The ball would drop in. I don't know if that was just hesitation on the knee or if he didn't want to put that kind of pressure. Now you have the other ACL. And Mark, I think you brought it up before. Does he become maybe the primary DH with both ACLs being repaired now? I mean, he's got a long-term deal. So it's good. It's a very interesting conversation the Braves are going to have this winter when it comes to A, his rehab, and
Right.
B, how they're going to utilize him going forward.
I mean, the one good, and it's not, I mean, yeah, the one good thing you can put into it is that he's still young. He's still young. And look, medical surgeries have changed so much over the years that, yeah, they could repair and he can come back. But the problem becomes, like you, Mike, you put it perfectly, is that when he first came back, he didn't take risks. He didn't get to certain fly balls. It's the conversation Atlanta needs to have with him
It's up
sooner
here, man.
or later.
It's up here.
Yeah,
It's just as up here as it is with his
down
knee.
there.
Exactly.
And Mark, to your point, he will be 27 years old in December. So it's a big blow to a Brave team that, listen, we had high expectations for.
Mm-hmm.
The Spencer Strider injury hurt them. This injury hurts them. You're losing your best all-around player and your best starting pitcher early in the season. Now, there is time to make that up with the trade deadline, et cetera, et cetera. But we'll have to see what happens next in Atlanta as they trail the Phillies in the National League East because the Phillies just decided to never lose.
They're on a tear.
They don't
No,
lose.
they are a machine.
They lost 2 in Colorado last weekend, and I go, no, this is a dream because the Rockies can't win 2 games and the Phillies can't lose 2 games.
Yeah, there was something wrong in the Matrix.
And they got the contact high being up in Denver. All right. From sad news to something baseball fans are very glee about. And if you're not watching, Mark is smirking about this. Umpire Angel Hernandez has announced his retirement effective immediately.
Okay. Little old white man dance, look.
The old white man
Yeah.
dance. Like,
If anybody doesn't know, when you're Jewish and you're 13, you go through the bar mitzvah. I'm not a flashy dancer, so I was taught the simple Jewish white boy two-step, step, step. I wasn't dancing, man. Please, I was taught the simple two-step.
did you break out the sprinkler ever?
No, I did not ever did the sprinkler. I have done the crap shooting before. I have done that on the dance floor. But this was the news. Every MLB player, every MLB owner, and let's face it, every MLB fan had been waiting for. The guy is blinder than Patchy, and that's saying something. The guy all pitches that were a mile outside of the strike zone. I am so sorry to that Texas young player. I think it was Wyatt Langford, who got called out on a ball that literally got thrown into the dugout, and he called it a strike. This is great for baseball. When the announcement happened, you could go anywhere and everybody was happy about it. But one thing that made it interesting was MLB had posted his StatCom breaks and then put it up against other crew chiefs. Wow. I mean, I knew it was bad, but when you actually see the placements of where he called balls and strikes compared to where some of these other crew chiefs are almost spot perfect, it's a wonder what the MLB was doing and waiting for.
Dan?
I'm just saying, it's about damn time this guy retired. It's about damn time. Forget the terrible balls and strikes call, which were always bad. Always bad. He really lost me when two bad calls against the Yankees and with the Yankees and Red Sox during the playoffs were way not even close.
And they all went to review, and he got them all wrong.
Terrible. He lost me in that series because for the longest I was like, you know what, I can tolerate him. He just wants to make noise and everything. He lost me in that series. It was time for him to go then. So yeah, just unbelievable. And of course, years later, more bad calls. And the fact that Major League Baseball is rejoicing his retirement it just goes to show you how much people actually give a fuck about it. Excuse my language.
It's one of the few things on Twitter that you see everyone agree with. Now, the atrocity that was Angel Hernandez, whether it's on the bases, behind the plate, for me, it's not where he lost me, but the funny thing for me was the discrimination lawsuit when he was suing Major League Baseball based on not giving him playoff games or whatever. I just found it so ironic that this is the guy who wants to sue Major League Baseball because he thinks he's bigger than Major League Baseball, which, by the way, over the years, there have been some umpiring personas. Joe West was a big one a few years ago.
Yes.
But Joe West is probably going to go to the Hall of Fame one day, and,
Well, rightfully so. Rightfully so. But yes, Joe West did have some issues.
And Angel Hernandez is just, it's brutal. It was brutal. I think there was a report, MLB's declined this, but there was a report saying there were partially MLB people trying to push them, get out. I don't know how true that is, but
As long as the Simpsons don't make an episode where Angel Hernandez gets into the Hall of Fame, I'll be very happy. Because as we know, every time the Simpsons show a thing in the future that could not actually happens.
Yeah, it's a proud week in Major League Baseball with Angel Hernandez uh being gone.
I think you're talking about discrimination law, so I think he just got tired of discriminating against players.
And I'm sure the players were just tired of him. That's the other part of this. I'm sure the players were just like, yeah, deal the Angel behind the plate today. I got to calm myself. And what's going to get me this time? All right, next up on the hit list is you, CB Buckner, because you've been brutal as well.
Oh,
No.
another guy who we're gonna have to deal with for a little bit, but we'll see.
All right. We go from that joyous occasion to another one. And Dan, I think this is really cool. Major League Baseball is now going to include stats from players who played in the Negro Leagues. Which means Josh Gibson has the highest batting average in a season over Ty Cobb. Do you like the historical preference here, or you know?
Well, what I love is that they added more hits to my boy Willie Mays.
Yes, they did give.
Yes, they did.
So that's a big win. I mean, I think it's cool that Major League Baseball wants to do it. Because I mean, if you're going to combine stats from other major leagues in the past, the Negro Leagues were a major league,
Yeah,
whether or not you want to agree with it and stuff. They were a major league. You had stars that eventually came to Major League Baseball and thrived in the National League and the American League, respectively. So yeah, I think it's very important that we celebrate it. Um, but I think there should be an asterisk to it.
like an acknowledgement.
We have to acknowledge, for many years that Ty Cobb was the guy that led in hits. So it's like, we have to acknowledge that the batting averages and all that stuff. Hey, look, before we integrated, this was the guy that had the lead here.
Mm.
Yeah. Now, of course, overall, yeah, no, whoever has the better average, whoever has the most hits, whoever has this, whoever has that, yeah, you absolutely incorporate it. But just realize that that's going to take a little while to sort of integrate. I don't know if my whole spiel makes sense, but I think it just needs some time to milk a little bit before we start really putting it out there.
This is probably one of the greatest announcements I've heard in a long time. I also agree with what Dan says by having an asterisk with it. When you look at what the Negro Leagues were, and after Jackie Robinson broke the color barrier and opened the floodgates for, as Mike alluded to, the players like Monty Irvin, Buck O'Neill. I mean, just to name a couple, there are thousands.
Barry Doby broke the American League.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. These guys played. These guys went out every day just because they didn't play in the major leagues. They did everything the major leagues were doing, but they were doing it better. They gained more traction at times than other teams because they were better at the game and they took more chances. By including what they did to make them join as a part of baseball, like what baseball did for the women's all professional league when they brought them into the Hall of Fame and made them part of a Hall of Fame, this is kind of like that. And I hope it gets expanded on. And in addition, I know there is an addition in the Hall of Fame to the Negro Leagues, but I hope this makes it even more to make a bigger addition to it and make it a more understanding time.
As much as that wing in the Hall of Fame was great and very necessary, this is a more of a momentous occasion. This is a bigger moment because now all the players that really fought to get to
Yeah.
the American League, to get to the National League, this is their moment. And they're being recognized. That has to be, there has to be some sort of triumph there that we need to acknowledge.
Yeah.
And it's important that we do acknowledge it. So it's a great move by baseball. It really is.
This is probably the best move Rob Manfred's made since he's become the commissioner.
Totally agree.
I will say this. I think this adds to a little bit of the legacy of Jackie Robinson as well. Because, Dan, I think you brought it up. He broke the color barrier first. And by the way, you talked about Willie Mays getting some stats added. So does Jackie Robinson. He got some hits added as well. So it adds to that legacy as well. But to the point of this was something that was needed and it's now acknowledged. I guess my follow-up would be this. We are acknowledging things that took place outside of Major League Baseball with the Negro League stats. And I'm not trying to say one thing is bigger than the other here. But you talked about an asterisk. And I'm coming at this from a different point of view. If we're acknowledging this, which we should also be acknowledging the steroid era. Now, I know it's two totally different subjects, but at the same time, we're acknowledging past history, which we should.
Mm-hmm.
And we're acknowledging something that didn't take place on the grounds of Major League Baseball. By the way, sometime later this month, the Cardinals and Giants are playing in Birmingham, Alabama, honoring the Negro Leagues. So I wanted to bring that up as well. But, that's my thing with the steroid era here. It's we should acknowledge that it existed. And if we're having the Hall of Fame be the museum and the statistics, obviously the statistics on the steroid era, they're already accumulated. They can't assume when a guy could get stats taken away from him or given to him. But Mark, I'm just thinking the acknowledgement should be there.
Absolutely.
Now, I'm 100% on you with that. Look, and look, those stats still count, but they're disputed, right? So now that we have stats that didn't count, now that they do count, there's no dispute anymore. All of baseball history needs to come together. The game it's a beautiful game. This is the best sport in my honest opinion. And we have to celebrate the sport for what it was through its good times and its bad times. And it's a great thing we're talking about the Negro League because there was a really bad time for a lot of African American people or people of color in general. That it was a really tough time for them to participate. So we celebrate baseball. Now that we're celebrating baseball through its good and its bad moments. Yeah, I could agree with that. The steroid era definitely was like a real low point for baseball, especially with all the stuff, the congressional hearings and, the integrity of the game. It's a low moment, but it needs to be celebrated. Just here, this Negro League being integrated into the MLB stats. It's important.
It's huge. Now, I don't know. I haven't been to Cooperstown in forever. I don't know if how much is there in Cooperstown that surrounds the
But
Negro Leagues.
there's plenty. There's plenty.
So I did see the Hall of Fame just unveiled a new Hank Aaron statue.
Yes.
So yeah, Major League Baseball has integrated Negro League stats with their own. So if you want to learn some things, look it up, look into it, have fun. All right, Mark, it's been a long week. It's Sunday, but it's been a long week for the New York Mets. So I'm going to break this down into several parts.
Okay.
So Monday, Memorial Day, rained out against the Dodgers. Tuesday, they got swept in a doubleheader by the Dodgers. Wednesday, they lose to the Dodgers 10-3. But that's not what I want to talk about. Jorge Lopez got tossed from this game. I think it was the 8th inning. Yeah, tossed from this game. He threw his glove over the netting into the crowd. Proceeded after the game to kind of throw the team under the bus, and then it got misconstrued saying he was the worst teammate in the world. He has been DFA'd by the Mets. A team has not picked him up yet, so we'll see what happens there.
Well, it's a period, right?
He gets teams get a week to put the claim in.
Yeah,
and then you go from there.
What do they do? Are they releasing him? Like, what are they doing? Like,
so if no team puts a claim in,
yeah,
the Mets have the option to either send him to AAA or release him. My guess would be he'd be released. He will not pitch another game for the New York Mets.
Yeah, it'd be shocking if they well, I mean, why not try to trade him? I mean,
that's what the DFA is. If a team puts it,
I understand. I know what the DFA is, but it's like, why not try to trade him? If no team's going to claim him, like I would see if they can get something back.
That might be because no team, they realize he's never pitching again for them after the comment.
Right. So why give up something for nothing?
A guy who could be a free agent in a couple of days.
I mean, sorry, Dan, go ahead.
But teams are gonna have to make roster spots if they pick him up anyway. They have to free up a roster spot. Unless he goes to the minor leagues,
Yeah. Who knows at this
just
point?
an idea. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I apologize.
No.
It's okay.
No, this was probably one of the most disgraceful moments I've ever witnessed as a Mets fan. Look, getting tossed out, fine. Throwing your glove in the stands, okay, we've seen players do worse. They throw, but then to go in to the locker room and say, "Oh, I play on the worst blank team in baseball." You literally just called the team that signs your paycheck the worst team in blanking baseball. Sorry, I'm going to leave the only F-bomb to Dan today.
No, that's
fine. Rightfully, he's DFA'd. I would be very surprised any team takes him. That means they would have to give up something for him. He's going to go unclaimed. He'll get released. And then whatever happens, happens. Right now, this guy made himself a cancer that nobody wants to touch right now, mentally. His game, otherwise, I can't really comment on because I haven't seen enough of it really to say he has a good this or a good that. So I think he just ruined his career, in my opinion.
But did he ruin his career? Because, I mean, athletes like Jamal Murray threw one of those heating pads on the floor. Steph Curry's throwing stuff into the stands. I mean, I know those are bigger names, but we're gonna ruin this guy's career because of one bad moment. I mean,
Well, I don't think it's as much of it's throwing the glove in the stand. It's the comment.
But he didn't make it such a bad comment. He said he was the worst teammate.
No, he said he's on the worst fucking team in
No,
Major
no,
League
no, no, no.
Baseball.
See, this is the problem. The-
It got misconstrued. He said teammate.
He said teammate.
Okay.
He did
I
not
think that
say-
was more heat of the moment thing, and people misconstrued it.
no, no,
But
no.
it is what it is.
Ripken, I hate to break it to you. It's because
Hey, if I need to be put in my place and corrected, that's what this is about.
I hate to break it to you, but the problem, this is where I blame the Mets. The problem is that English is not his language. So
Mhm.
it's broken. So it sounds like he's saying team. He's really saying teammate. And he clarified that too. He's trying to say that in his comment, he was trying to say that he's been the worst teammate and that he's been embarrassing the team. And the team feels embarrassed by him for the way he's been playing and stuff. So that's how I took it, at least. And of course, the writers out there ran with, yeah, worst effing team. And then, of course, people everywhere else are running with it. I think it's a little irresponsible to just flat out, take what someone, because you have to understand, he doesn't know he knows what he wants to say, but he can't
He
say
needs a
it.
translator.
And this is where I blame the Mets, because not having an interpreter there as a backup, because you can tell he wants to try to speak English, right? Which I appreciate. But for the Mets to not have a backup interpreter just so that there could be clarification, I'm sorry there's no excuse for that. There's no excuse. You're not necessarily defaming him. Again, everyone's trying to figure out what he said, but you're making someone out to be like some horrible human being when he's not.
No, and I don't think he is a horrible human being. But I also wonder how hard it'd be for him to call over someone else's interpreter and say, "Hey, listen, can you help me out here? This is what I have to say." Because the part that bothers me on what he said isn't the fact that he called himself a horrible teammate. It's not the worst effing team. It was the fact that the manager gave you an opportunity. The manager says post game it's an unacceptable act. When you're asked about the act and you're asked if you regret it and you say you don't regret it, that's the problem I have with what he said. Now, listen, I don't like Carlos Mendoza. To me, right now, he's Luis Rojas 2.0.
Right.
But he's still the manager of the team. And he has to have some form of control and respect in that room.
And he doesn't have it.
That was a sign of disrespect. When you don't, when you double down and say, nope, I don't regret it. That's
Mike,
how I take that.
But
Mike, I want to.
but
Oh,
you
sorry,
also
go
have
ahead,
to
Dan.
understand.
Dan, go ahead.
But you also have to understand. We go back to the English as a second language type of thing.
Yeah.
Does he even know what regret means?
I don't know.
That's another thing. I'm not saying he doesn't know.
No, right.
I'm not saying he doesn't know. I'm sure he gets the gist of the English language, enough to speak to reporters without a translator. But still, like asking him that question without any back, like there is one time, I forget who it was from the Yankees, where he spoke in English, but the interpreter translated the question and he gave the answer in English. The player, I forget the player's name. It escapes me. But why not have that type of thing?
There's enough players on this team that have an interpreter. Because this. When you make that scene and you throw the glove into the stands, the reporters are coming to your locker.
Yeah.
He couldn't say to Starling Marte's interpreter, hey, dude, can I borrow you for like 5 minutes to help me out?
Yeah, exactly.
Listen, call my guy Ipe in prison and see what's up. He might be able to help out.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, this was a cherry on top of I don't even want to say it was a bad like ice cream, but it was a cherry on top of what was a pathetic month of May for the New York Mets, where they were, I think, 9-23, whatever it was, or 9-21, whatever it was. It just wasn't a good month, and that was just the cherry on top of a really pathetic stretch of baseball they were playing, Mark.
Yeah, well, now, the Dodgers, I mean, came in, I mean, and treated the Mets as if they were a single A team. That's how I want
By
to
the way, the
place
Mets
it.
had a chance to win that first game of the doubleheader.
Yes, they did, but here's the thing, and I'm going to say it again because I've said it before. The Mets lineup is fine. The Mets can put runs on the board, but there has not been that type of discussion. It's not like the Mets are batting 0 for the world and only scoring 1 run a game. If you look over the last 10 games, the Mets are averaging 6 runs a game. The problem is they're giving up 9 runs a game, and that's the problem. And Mike, we've talked about this every week. We're not going to beat a dead horse anymore. It's the pitching. Fine. We know that's the problem. I want to go to this past weekend game against the Arizona Diamondbacks, the 10-8 game. The Mets did something that I have stressed that needs to be concentrated on more, and they won that game by small ball. They had triples, doubles, singles, and brought in 8 of those runs via that way. And then they had the J.D. Martinez 2-run home run that made it 10-5, and then miraculously, all of a sudden, they started coming back, and luckily that didn't happen. The Mets pitching is the problem. Edwin Diaz is now on the IL with a shoulder impingement. I don't think he has any type of shoulder problem. I think it's all in his head. I think he needs time to work it out. The Mets were not counted in this year. We knew that. Doesn't mean they still can't make that third wild card spot. There's no saying anything can't change. But with the way they're hitting, with the amount of runs they're giving up a game and not being hold on to a win, we're going to slowly see a big change. And the trade deadline's going to come, and I have a feeling the Mets are going to be very, very quiet.
Well, we'll see what happens, but
what a rough month for the Mets. I mean,
it was
they were tough to watch, and watching Jorge Lopez be at like a maniac on the field. It was just the Mitt Rifkin. I think you said cherry on top. Horrible month. I mean, that it's tough. Mets have much bigger issues though.
they have a lot of issues.
Bigger issues. They blew like 9 saves in the month. Am I getting this correctly?
You're right.
Yeah. By the way, if you
So 9 games they had a lead and they blew it.
I think 20 of 22 games or whatever it was were decided by 1 or 2 runs. You flip that in half or whatever, and you win a couple of those, totally different month.
Yeah.
It's just, it's one of those moments where you say it rains, it pours legitimately. And it just felt like it was never going to end. Still kind of feels that way. But,
It's the monsoon. That's what it was.
It really was. And we're not even talking about Gorilla Monsoon. I mean, I'm trying to think of how I want to word it. The relied upon guys have to be better. And you can't rely on people. And this is not a knock, but there's a reason why Reed Garrett hasn't been a great pitcher his whole career. Yeah, he had a great month of April. You couldn't expect that to continue. Adam Ottavino's 43 years old. Not really, but he can't pitch every day. At some point, Edwin Diaz has to get his head out of his rear end. At some point, the starters have to go deeper into games. And let's be honest, Mark, outside of Luis Severino, none of the starters have been that great.
No, and
Tyler McGill was great his last time out against the Dodgers. They blew that game.
yep, that was the game they could have won.
You know, Christian Scott's been really good for a young pitcher. I'm not going to
Thank
blame
you.
him for anything.
That's a good way to put it. It's a good way to put it.
You know, I'm not going to fault him for this, but I need Jose Quintana to be better.
And he's not gonna be. I hated the signing last year.
And so here's the thing. They keep pushing Kodai Senga's potential return at some point. Kodai Senga's not walking through that door anytime soon.
There is no your deal. As we know, if the Mets buy the trade deadline, and that's when his supposed time now to return is by the trade deadline. If the Mets are that out of it,
He ain't pitching.
Kodai Senga will not pitch this season.
Yeah, but the question is, does he even want to pitch this season?
Who
Yeah.
knows?
Well, you don't want
We don't
want
know.
to take a chance that he loses all his mechanics and all his anything. You got to still be able to prove he can do it, but why risk a greater injury when he could get a full year of rest? Let him go down and pitch in Syracuse for a couple of games if he needs to get a game in to work on some stuff.
You could put Port St. Lucie. I mean, something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Let him do something, but there is no reason for Kodai Senga right now to be entering the Mets rotation at any time soon.
Yeah. So again, trade deadline is a little bit more than a month away now. But we'll see what happens. But it was a bad week in Mets land, but it culminated, Mark, with something special, the retirement of Darryl Strawberry's number 18.
That was, I mean, it was a nice present. Let me tell you, Dan, this is no knock at, yeah, it is a knock at the Yankees. I think the Mets did a lot better for Darryl Strawberry than the Yankees did for shit. I mean, just to show you how important the guy was that he couldn't.
Yeah, no, I get you, but I just want to remind you that Doc and Daryl did a whole lot more
No, I know. No.
with the Yankees.
Yes, that was the thing. I love it. It's funny when Daryl's up there on the stand. I'm like, and he's thanking the Mets fans. There's a little part of my brain saying, he's thanking the Yankees fans because he won a World Series with them too, and so did Doc Good.
Daryl Strawberry, we love Darryl Strawberry. Yeah.
But what Darryl Strawberry had to say, and as he talked about his troubled time and what his wife has done for him and people outside of baseball, especially Mookie Wilson, and transformed him into a guy of pure positiveness when he was going through rough times. And I think this moment you saw the true Darryl Strawberry laying out there on how he truly felt, and you could see the love he has for the game. Let's just call it what it is, for the game, not just for the Mets. It's an honor to have your number retired at any level. But he made somebody else cry, not me. Keith Hernandez was absolutely shocked that Darryl Strawberry singled him out and being the man who he contributes to his career of being able to be an amazing hitter. And you could see Keith Hernandez had tears in his eyes because he was didn't know Strawberry was going to say it. And I thought that was pure class. So Darryl will always live as a Mets number 18.
There's two of. Go ahead, Dan.
No, you can go, Riff.
Okay, there's two things I want to bring up, Mark, and then I want your thought. One, the conversation of who's next to get their number retired. People talk. Gary Carter, was he there long enough? And obviously, we all know David Wright's eventually gonna go up. The other part in his statement or in his speech, he was talking about winning in New York, and there's nothing like winning in New York because the fans will cheer for you. And listen, they let you know it if you suck.
Mm-hmm.
I took that as something totally different.
Okay.
I took that as Pete Alonso, I know you're the closest guy to my home runs record. I want you to break it. I want you to stay because you want to win here. That's how I interpreted that kind of plea.
And the way you put that out there, yeah. And listening to the way you say it, I can see how you came to that conclusion. So we all hope Pete's going to stay. Dan?
Having this is just how you know there's this big love, at least nowadays, for Darryl Strawberry. Darryl Strawberry, as he's being retired, pretty much throughout the day, the home run apple in center field covered like a strawberry.
Very classy.
Because that is how much the fans feel about. That's how much the organization feels about. And I know, he's very regretful about the falling out that he had with the previous ownership, which led him to go into the Dodgers and everything. And it was a whole mess. And he apologized for leaving. But I think the fans have truly, truly, re-embraced him because he needed that. And he has never lost love of the New York fan base. Never.
No.
And you could say the same thing for Doc Good when he gave his speech. He talked about he didn't want to leave.
Yeah.
And he even talked about trying to come back at one point. So,
yes.
How true that was, we don't know.
Yeah.
But
Mike,
hey,
sorry.
No.
They've
embraced that they are Mets legends. And I love the fact that Steve Cohen has embraced the all-time legends from the 86 team because Keith's number went up under Steve Cohen. Doc went up. Strawberry went up. Steve Cohen, as much as people want to talk about him being a fan, which he is, also understands the importance of what that 86 team brought.
Right.
Which was obviously the World Series. I was not alive yet, so
yeah.
I was at Game 6.
Yeah, and just like the Yankees have in the past 30 years, they owned the town. Like they were the top tier baseball team. Like they were the big ticket. The Mets and the Yankees were very important to New York City.
The biggest, and then we'll move on fast. Mike, I wanted to ask you this question. You look over from the start of the Mets in the 1960s to where they are today. And I'm talking with my mom yesterday as we're watching the Strawberry retirement together, which was nice. Listen, it's as we both watched him play during the 80s. And I wanted to, point out the fact about something. Would Darryl Strawberry, if stayed clean and played his entire career, that means no time in LA, no time with the Yankees, would he have been the one to break Ruth's number? I mean, break Aaron's number. Would Darryl Strawberry be the one, considering he was averaging about, I believe, before he left the Mets, it was 29 home runs a season?
I'm gonna say no.
Okay.
I just think for someone to break Aaron's record at the time, it was going to take something sensational. And Bonds hitting the 73 and 01, you need a year like that to just say that'll get him there.
Okay.
I think Strawberry could have gotten to he probably definitely could have gotten to 400, and that could have made an interesting case for the Hall of Fame. But I don't think you break Hank Aaron.
It's a good question, though. Very good question. By the way, for someone that just got released from the hospital for a heart attack,
you look good.
He looked damn good. I want that cardiologist.
He's moving well.
I want
I
him in
didn't
left
look
field
that good
today.
coming out of my heart attack.
just,
I want him in
just
left
saying.
field.
Just saying. No, good. Great to see Daryl Strawberry. Very emotional, my Daryl Strawberry.
The other thing I love was the amount of 86 players there were.
Yes.
Doc was there, and they
Doc.
big embrace.
Jesse Orozco, my God, did he age? Oh my! When they showed him on the screen, I said, "Who is that?" And then when they announced it, I said, "Oh my God, he got old."
That's what happens, Mark.
Well, yes,
People
I know
age.
that's what happens, but he was unrecognizable.
He also
mean,
didn't he pitch till he was almost 50 also?
Something like I believe he had made a comeback
he
with some team in the late end of his 50s, like Julio Franco, the legendary old man.
Julio,
Like the
another Met
51.
legend, Julio Franco.
he did some Jimmy Moyer bullshit, you know.
Yeah.
Oh boy! All right, so congratulations, Daryl Strawberry, on his number being retired. All right, on to some big series taking place this week. Mark, we start in the National League. We talked about the Phillies earlier, how they never lose. Well, they get the first place Milwaukee Brewers going to the bank this week.
Look, the Phillies are on a run. Now let's call it it. They're on a tear. And they're kind of reminding me of the 1970s Cincinnati Reds, that hitting machine, the big red machine. Everybody's contributing. It's not just Bryce Harper and Kyle Schwarber hitting 500 home runs here. Everybody, and even with the loss of Trey Turner, they're still playing like this. Now you're going to go in against a Milwaukee team that is on a 4-game win streak. It's 35-23, and they're playing at a level, and I'm going to be honest, I didn't have them playing at this level in the beginning. I said they were going to be there around wild card time, but I didn't have them leading the NL Central at any time. This is going to be your first. I don't want to say it's going to be the first. This is going to be a true matchup of two of the best teams in the National League. And both teams are pitching well. Both teams are hitting. This needs to be a series that should be watched not only as fans-wise, this should be broadcast like a primetime series.
And it could be a possible playoff preview.
True.
Yeah. Listen, I gotta give the Brewers credit because we thought they were out this year, and they've done so well. And we talked about Philly earlier. All right, Dan. Your Yankees host a team they own this week when the Twins come to town. Now, before I throw it to you, Dan, Mark had told me he wanted to talk about a specific Yankee player and the tear he's been on, and that's Aaron Judge. This is from Sarah Langs. Most extra base hits in a calendar month in Yankee history. July 1937, Joe DiMaggio had 31. July 1930, Lou Gehrig, 29. July of 1924 and June of 1921, Babe Ruth had 26. May of 2024, Aaron Judge had 25 extra base hits.
I just wanted to say this quickly, and then this goes to Dan. I like Aaron Judge. I hate the fact that he's a Yankee, but I like Aaron Judge. The guy can swing a bat, and he's a leader. He's a leader on the team. He is on a run that I have not seen, and I take credit for it because I drafted him in our fantasy draft league. That's why he's doing it. I am taking all the credit for Aaron Judge. Okay, Dan, now you got to follow that up.
Wait a second. Does that mean I have to take credit for Trey Turner pulling his hamstring?
Yes, Mike, and Mike, but you get to take credit for Soto.
All right, I'll take credit for Soto.
All right, Dan, the floor is yours.
Just on Twins Yanks real quick. Twins are gonna want some revenge after getting absolutely swept and massacred at Target Field. So to be on the lookout for that. It's only a few a day out. So yeah. No, just top the Aaron Judge thing. Aaron Judge has been sensational this month of May. And one of the things that I said when talking about the Yankees, whether it's on Batter Up, whether it's on SIP, the thing that I watched when I was watching Aaron Judge struggle, I looked and I told Bill Murphy, Corpus Christi, one of the things I told him was that Yankee fans were booing him, and rightfully so. They should also be very concerned because you have that contract. Now he's coming off an injury, and now he stinks. Those are never good things to experience and stuff. You're Yankee fans, that's something that you should be very worried about. And I said in May, he has to come up huge to give the fan base, one, some life, and two, to give them more confidence that he is going to be the player that he said he's going to be. Thank goodness he listened to me, because he is having an absolutely terrible month.
Homered again last night too, I believe.
Yeah.
Yes.
What was it, like 22, 20, 21,
Yeah,
22? Something like that. Leads the league.
Yes, he does. I mean, Aaron Judge, again, hate that he's a Yankee. Think he's probably one of the most pure hitters in baseball.
Yeah, no, he has come alive this month. It is so good seeing a lineup where Aaron Judge is crushing it and Juan Soto's crushing it. Can we?
And Stanton
those
to a
two.
degree.
And Giancarlo, I think we've seen peak Giancarlo, but just 250 and 20 home runs.
Well,
It's perfect.
The key for him is just his health. If he can stay healthy, like that protection's so important.
I want to throw a question to the two of you before you move. You ready?
I wasn't going to move with her.
Hot mic question. Which is better, 1927 Murderers Row or this Yankees lineup right now? We'll start with Dan.
Murderers Row.
Mike?
Yeah, it's Murderers Row.
See, for me, it's opposite because of the way the game is played differently now. And
I get.
No, but put Murderers Row in this Yankee ballpark, that Yankee stadium.
And the problem is it's the pitching that's different. They didn't face screwballs and crap like that. It was, I would like to see that lineup and I think I can even create it on MLB The Show, and I think I'm going to, just to see what would happen.
So the thing I was going to bring up before you interrupted me.
Sorry.
I wonder how Aaron Judge's brother Arson Judge feels about watching this from the Giants dugout as he right, John Heyman?
Let me tell you, hats off to Aaron Judge on an amazing month.
And hats off to Arson Judge just for the fact of hats off to Arson Judge. All right.
Arson Judge comments all weekend throughout the MLB contingent. It's amazing.
Look, I get mistakes happen, things happen, but man, you'll never live that one down.
It's aging beautifully.
Yeah, Arson Judge, great. Arson Judge of the Giants, man. All right. For the first time this year, Mark, the top two in the AL Central play each other. The Royals go to Cleveland to play the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Me, I've been waiting for this series. I think I had put Kansas City at the beginning of the season up very high. Kansas City is playing like a team at a higher level than anybody could have ever predicted this season. It's not just Bobby Witt, it's everybody. Salvi Perez. But the Cleveland Guardians are nothing to sleep on, with Ramirez and Jimenez playing very, very well. You got Bo Naylor, playing well as well. this is another matchup, just like a matchup we talked about before with the Brewers and the Phillies. This is a possible playoff preview again, and it's gonna be an exciting series.
And by the way, if Aaron Judge didn't have the month of May he had, Jose Ramirez is your American League Player of the Month.
Yes.
He is still the most underappreciated superstar in the game. And it's been that way for the last 4 or 5 years. And it's unbelievable how well he continues to grow.
And it's not even that we don't appreciate it. It's the fact that he gets little to no credit for a Guardians
Right.
team that literally overachieves. I want to say overachieves.
Every year. And from Kansas City, Mark, our guy Seth Lugo is crushing it.
Well, absolutely. It's hard to, kind of talk about because he was here. And Mike, you and I had hundreds of talks on why he should start and why he should be, where he is. And then I don't think they missed out. I just don't think they ever gave him the chance to show what he could do.
They
and
did want him to be a starter.
No, they wanted him to be the long man out of the bullpen. That's what they wanted. And look how he's excelled.
I also think and this is again a knock on the Mets because they're a terrible organization. I think the Mets had a really bad pitching coach during that Mickey Callaway era.
Yeah.
And he was the long man coming out of the bullpen and eventually the closer.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, like I think watching the transformation of Seth Lugo, and I know it's late into his baseball career, but watching that transformation, him to being ace-like, is pretty remarkable. Like I have to say, like it's something that I didn't even expect. And
I don't think the Royals expected it either. I mean, for him to be 8-1, 9-1 ERA under 2, nobody saw that. Seth Lugo didn't even see that coming.
I want to point out something with the Royals that I just talked about. Bobby Witt is currently batting 368. He's got 10 home runs, 41 RBIs. He's got 17 stolen bases on the year.
And
I said this kid is going to be a massive star. Yeah. But now just look at the guy who bats behind him, and that's Aldi Perez. He's batting 315. He's a lifetime 240 hitter. He is having the year of years. This Kansas City team is doing things that I only wish could be done with the others.
The thing about Salvi Perez is, remember, he came up, it was defense first.
Yes, but he can launch a ball.
He is.
He can launch.
Kind of like Yadier Molina in a sense.
That's a fair comparison.
Well, both will wind up in Cooperstown, so
absolutely. Absolutely.
I love Salvi, man. And
so good.
Look, you have to understand, if the Royals continue to go the Atlanta Braves route, which I expect them to do because they have a lot of good players and they're signed to long term, like they did with Bobby Witt. It's a good thing that Bobby Witt Jr. is on this team long term. If he continues to play like he is now, I mean, he'll have a statue in downtown KC.
Well, now they have money to spend because the one of the part owners is Mr. Mahomes. We know he's got the cash.
He'll be like, I'll donate whatever to the
So I want to throw a contest to the two of you.
Okay.
All right. This will be for something out of the Dugout Autograph Collection.
Oh boy.
All right. I want your final guess on Elly De La Cruz stolen base number. Closest without going over wins. He currently stands at 32.
Okay.
Ooh. At 32 now.
It's been 2 months. I would say 85.
Okay.
You know
Okay.
what? I just think he goes and breaks Acuna. I'm gonna go 72.
Okay. Just for instance, I can't win. I have 109. I have him eclipsing the
I
hundred.
don't.
The
Can you
hundred.
imagine 100 stolen bases in a season?
Well, the last person to do it was Vince Coleman in 1987. I mean, it hasn't been done in a long, long time. But Vince Coleman, after 2 months, was at 37. So this
Oh,
kid goes out and steals an average of one base a game. So there's 162 games in the season. If he plays 150 and he's averaging one a game, that's unbelievable.
oh, yeah, it's unbelievable.
Okay, now back to Mike and his rundown.
Well, we got one more series.
Yeah.
The Tigers go to Arlington to play the Rangers, and both teams hovering around 500. The Rangers it's been all about the injuries, especially that rotation. They did just get Nathan Eovaldi back, but they're still down Max Scherzer and Tyler Mahle and Jacob DeGrom. Who knows if he's gonna
He's
pitch?
ever going to pitch.
Yeah.
You got to give it up to Corey Seager for the way
Oh,
he's been
see,
hitting.
Corey Seager's red hot.
Yeah, the way he's been hitting.
What was it? 8 homers in 8 games or something
Yep.
like that. Yeah.
He Piazza had it at 6. I think it was 8 for Seager. Yeah. Um, this Rangers team is underperforming, and like Mike said, it's the injuries. There is no question about it. I still expect the Rangers to definitely contend, especially if they get some pitching back. Um, don't sleep on this team. That 7-game losing streak that was with the Twins, the Phillies, and the A's. The Devil's gone. You're going to see a resurgence of the Texas Rangers. It's going to be. I can't see the Rangers faltering much more.
I mean, give the A's credit. They've hung around so far.
Yeah.
I mean, the problem is everyone's within striking distance of the Mariners. So then, like,
Yeah.
that's the crazy part.
Well, the stupid part for all these ALS teams, they let the Astros hang around when they really needed to bury them.
Well, I mean, especially the Mariners. The Mariners they proved me wrong, and they're a way better team. They need to cream the hell out of this division. One of the things that you should not do is let an Astros team get healthy, and then all of a sudden they take off. It's irresponsible. But one of the teams trying to ruin that cause for the Rangers, Detroit Tigers.
Yeah.
And the Detroit Tigers have a lot of young players. And my favorite, Spencer Torkelson, but
Riley Green.
well, Riley, can't forget about Riley Green also. I mean, the Tigers are an up and coming team, so just watching what they can do now only gives you hopes for the future.
I mean, minus the White Sox, which they had the worst record in baseball, 15 wins. The AL Central, that is slowly becoming a really tough division to handle.
Well,
Still, I find no
got
more
team-
division. Go ahead, Mike.
Go ahead.
No, I was saying I find no more division scarier than the AL East right now. Still,
I mean, the Royals and Tigers are up and coming. The Twins they find ways to win, but we don't know how to judge them because they really don't be great teams. Cleveland, Dan, you said they overachieve, but they overachieve every year and they've been great. And the White Sox are really bad. But, the Central's going to be interesting. It's there for Detroit. Mark, you talked about the young players. How about the young pitchers? Casey Mize has been really good for the most part. Reese Olson's pitched well.
yep.
And they have a manager in AJ Hinch who's done a similar, who took a similar approach when he was the manager of the Houston Astros.
You know, I think we talk a lot about matchups and series matchups. I think there's going to be none more exciting this year. And obviously, we're going to be talking the Yankees, but Yankees Baltimore, every time they face off, it's a must watch series. And I think Dan would agree with that.
Oh, yeah.
Well, Baltimore is just, I
Uh,
mean, whew, they could slug.
And, you know, the big key question comes, are they going to keep Corbin Burns, or is Corbin Burns going to test free agency? I think it's in their best interest to sit down now with him and say, hey, look, here's 10 years. Don't go anywhere.
Well, Dan talked about the Braves' approach with the Royals. I've been screaming it from the rooftops. I want the Orioles to do it with that young core. Adley Rutschman, Gunnar Henderson,
Jackson Holiday,
Jackson Holiday when he
Santander,
comes back.
Mountcastle.
Oh, they got talent up the wazoo.
And then may I add that Juan Soto is a free agent after this season. And do not tell me the Baltimore Orioles would not be interested in Juan.
Oh,
No,
absolutely.
they're interested. They'll be.
You're going to have to throw their name in the ring. Absolutely. Could you
I
imagine
mean-
putting him right in the middle of that lineup?
And that's the team that I fear the worst that might get him. So that's why the Yankees need to get their heads out
mean,
of their ass.
You would have Jackson. Well, let's call it what it is. You have Jackson Holiday, Adley Rutschman, and Soto. And that any combination you want to mix it up, and then you throw Mountcastle and all. You're talking better than what the Yankees would have this year if you put Soto in that place. That's what I'm saying.
Oh boy, we're still on Soto watch.
Yes.
Oh boy. All right, that'll do for this edition of Better Up. Sponsored by the Dugout of Millwood. Mark, does the Dugout have anything common?
The Dugout does. If you are a member of Top Notch Sports Break and Club, you know us very well. We will be releasing our new 1 of 1 that comes out most likely Tuesday afternoon, as we're going to get it up and set. And here's the kicker. Business has been good. We're giving $100 giveaway in break credit to the person who will answer the trivia question right on the 20-minute video that will be posted up on Top Notch. You will have 24 hours, and then the question will be posted at 9 p.m. the following night. You get the answer incorrect first, $100 right into your credit. And trust me, $100 break credit now is worth gold.
All right. Share this podcast or any other podcast. Go to wherever you get your podcast, or you can check us out live on YouTube every Sunday, where these videos are. Follow us on the socials. We're on Facebook and we're on Twitter at SInsanityReal. Check out the website, www.thesportsinsanitynetwork.com for great blogs, vlogs, planes, trains, and automobiles. But for Dan, Mark, I'm Mike. We will see you all next week here on Batter Up, here on the Sports Insanity Network, sponsored by the Dugout of Millwood. Enjoy your lovely Sunday, everybody.
We want to thank for all the shout outs that Rudy Campos has been given to the network, and we appreciate that he's a part of our family. We love him. Thank you so much, Rudy Campos, and hopefully you can join us soon.
Yes, and check out Sweep the League, as they are live 3 nights a week. Rudy and Gio talk a lot of fun stuff. I've participated in a couple of shows, so please check them out.
All right. Peace, folks.
Catch you on the flip.